Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
So, can anybody guess what this podcast is going to be about?
I wonder.
I guess that intro might have given it away. Well, yeah, we had a great time. Actually, it was this past weekend.
Yeah, it was.
We went in search of the mighty bull elk.
We did.
Right here, right now in the Calgary, Banff, Canmore, Jasper area right now. The elk, they're just starting to rut. Mm-hmm. So they're very vocal right now. And that's how we found this guy.
Yes, just pulling over and just listening, right?
Yeah, just sitting there and listening. It was kind of cool because it happened almost right away. Mm-hmm. We heard one bull to the right, another one to the left. You can tell that they were, communicating and that sort of thing. So
that was pretty cool.
Obviously, yeah, we got right out, grabbed their gear, and we headed in. So, we went in search of the one bull that was closest.
Yeah.
And, upon further investigation, what sounded like the other big bull was actually across the river. So, we didn't have our hip waders or anything with us. So, we concentrated on this guy.
Yeah.
And I had somebody ask me in the comments how big he was. And looked like one of his brow tines were actually split. There was actually two coming out as opposed to one. So I did I have different photos, like different angles. So He is a 7x8 bull. So he is a decent sized bull for sure. So
he was a big guy.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if he's the biggest there. I mean, we'll obviously be going out again to see, maybe we'll find, one or two bigger bulls. But the other thing too was, we didn't see not a single cow.
No, we didn't at all. We heard the two conversing, but that's all. We didn't see anything else.
No chirping, no cow calls, no nothing. So.
And we were quiet. We were literally listening for that, right? And we heard nothing. So
yeah, 100%. I just found it kind of odd, but at the same time, if it's just the beginning, they may not be herding the bull or the cows yet or any of that kind of stuff, right? So
a little too early, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, super cool. I mean, we came across trees that are absolutely destroyed, right? Got some cool video that Chris is going to show. Them thrashing, him thrashing the trees, right? Yep. And, what was kind of funny is in this case here, right about 10 o'clock, things just shut off and that was it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't hear anything else the rest of the day. It was just the early morning time frame that we heard the conversing and yeah.
And that's,
it was weird.
I found that in the past until it was like absolutely middle of the rut. These guys are killing each other, trying to get to the cows, that sort of thing, right?
Sure.
So that's why I'm kind of figuring it might have still been a little on the early side, right?
Well, yeah, and you heard them conversing back and forth, but there wasn't it wasn't a focus of getting over to that other bull either, right? It was just, they're minding their own business, doing their own thing. Yep, conversing back and forth, but that was kind of about it.
Yeah, vocalizing, but you're right. They weren't ready to rumble yet.
No, not yet.
So
no, not yet.
Because that guy would bugle, thrash the trees, bugle, thrash the trees.
Yeah.
Go into the field and eat, bugle, kept eating. So I think they were just kind of letting each other know, kind of who's in the neighborhood sort of thing.
Yeah,
right?
I suppose that's true. Yeah. And we have some footage of that. Like you had some stuff on social media that clearly shows that. And so we'll show some of that in the podcast here as well. And
so, that's a good point. So if anybody watching isn't subscribed to our Instagram, I posted about 12 or 15 Instagram stories, like quick updates, quick video clips,
that's
right?
Yeah.
So, I'm at joedesjardins.ca. Chris is at
Chris Gibbs Photography.
Yep. And then we have our Nature Photo Guys, which is at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Is it podcast? You know what? I can't even remember. Hang on. Let me take a quick look. Hang on. We're so professional. We're so professional. Hang on. I'm not sure if
one's podcast, one's not.
The nature. I don't think so. Hang on. The nature. God, we're
awesome. The Nature Photo Guys podcast. Yeah, it is.
Guys podcast. Yeah. So it is the Nature Photo Guys podcast. So yeah, give us a follow on those guys, because when we're in the field, we will be doing quick stories and updates and that sort of thing. Right. You know, so
yeah, that's right. For sure. And they're cool little clips, right? So it's interest. We're right there at the time, showing people what's going on. So that's cool. It.
So it's not something we post the day after or whatever. Yeah. Like this is actually happening right at the moment, you know. But last night, like I posted to the Instagram reels, that little quick white balance.
Oh, that was cool.
Tip, right? You know, for Lightroom. So yeah, give us a follow, guys. And, you know, you can follow along with our journey, you know, our time in the field. Cause, you know, we got another big trip coming up there soon in a few weeks, right? Yep,
we do.
I also have a workshop this weekend in Waterton, where we'll be concentrating on the elk rut, if you know they're in the area, right? But there's still been a lot of bear activity, and I mean, you can't really point in. I mean, you can point in any direction as far as landscapes go in Waterton and get a great shot. You know, it's such a beautiful place, right?
No kidding. Yeah, at any time of year, it's you know, lots of landscapes in different directions, and depending on the time of year, it's different types of things that you're seeing, right? Well, so it's pretty cool.
Well, what did we even notice out west? I mean, all the ground foliage was pretty much turned red, yellows, like orange already. And a lot of the trees were starting. We've seen some larches, you know, that were yellow already. But yeah, she's giving her, and it's only mid-month, right? You know, so
for sure,
pretty excited for the next few weeks. And then, you know, again, at the end of the elk rut, we move into the moose rut. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and actually after the moose rut, it's the whitetail rut. And then right alongside the whitetail, mid to the end of November, then we got the bighorn sheep, right? You know, so we got a good, September, October, November. Yeah. Another 2-3 months of I don't know, kind of my favorite time of the year besides spring, fall, the rut, you know, is, for me is where it's at for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then another reason for everybody to subscribe, right? Because there's just so much exciting, you know, scenarios that we're going to run across hopefully in the next few months. So, so yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun times.
Yeah, 100%. So,
and you got a great photo there, eh? Like you're talking about your white balance, but man, you got a great photo with the breath coming out of the elk's mouth there. So,
well, thanks. But I think what's even better is you got video of that happening. So that better make this cut. This better make this cut.
We'll have to show that. So,
because I know, guys, we're just kind of talking about the intro, and then, you know, obviously Chris will be adding video and some photos and stuff. And I don't know, maybe you'll be cutting out our ugly mugs and throwing in a few photos while we're talking.
Yeah,
I don't know, you know,
we can do that for sure, but
probably do that. Yeah. You know, so,
but you know,
give the viewers a break.
Oh yeah, for sure. But you know, even though we both do photography, we're trying to do some more video as well. Right. So I've, you know, we're trying to up that level a little bit more in the field. So hopefully you guys will be seeing a lot more video going forward as well. So,
yeah. But what was your biggest thing? Oh shit. Should I shoot video or should I take photos?
Yeah.
Should I shoot video or should I take photos?
It's a dilemma.
You know, like it is a dilemma, right?
It is a dilemma. You know,
I still love taking stills.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got to get over to the video side, you know?
Yeah,
so.
and you know what, if you have the ability to have an animal sitting there, you know, you're not in danger, like there's no grizzly there, but you know, if you're able to, like the elk, if it's just minding its business, we're at a distance from this animal, right? So if we're able to set the tripod up with video and still grab another camera and still be able to take photos, that's an ideal scenario. I mean, obviously you know, people hear in the video, you can hear the clicking of the of your camera, you know, but then who cares? I mean, it's cool, right? So it's the visuals that's the exciting part, right? So
for sure. And just a few comments too, guys. I had a few friends reply to the Instagram stories, and they're saying, "Oh man, you were really close." Yeah. But I was actually that was, you know, obviously an iPhone clip, and that was times 5.8 or times 6 times zoom, you know, just to get it in so you guys could see it clearly. but
we're not that
were
close.
a good distance away because,
oh yes,
I mean, it's the elk rut, and I've had a few experiences where, not with elk. Well, one time last year with elk, showed a little aggression, but I mean, not charging, but you could just tell it was
Sure.
timed, like it was the middle of the rut. But I've had two experiences with moose over the years too, where I wasn't close, but when I was shooting my 500 and it wouldn't focus anymore,
right?
Not thinking like, why is this not? Oh, because the moose is coming to me, because it was the beginning of the moose rut.
That's hilarious.
I mean, I was basically gone. Like I had nowhere to really hide. So
sure,
he actually followed me to my truck.
Oh, you're kidding.
I wasn't in danger, but he came right to me, right?
Yeah.
And then there was another time where this younger bull kind of pinned me behind some trees. He was still a good 80 yards or more away, but he was standing his ground and I wasn't moving.
Yes.
So it was basically a standoff until he got tired of me standing there and left, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you just have to remember, guys, during the rut, like it's dangerous. Like keep your distance,
Yeah.
And
we were, right?
Too,
we were constantly behind trees. We were
100%.
making sure we were safe and we were at a distance. We had, for that video that we'll show and the photos, we had big zoom lenses on, right? So we weren't close at all. So
and the other thing too is a tip: don't hide behind a sapling. Make sure it's a group of trees. When you're shooting, right? And we're doing that to just be safe. I mean, obviously, this elk wasn't showing any aggression or anything, right? But
you never know, right? So safety first,
and that's it.
Yeah,
that's right. And the other thing too, everybody thinks of bear spray for bears, but I carry bear spray all year round for
anything,
any encounter.
Yep,
that's right.
Yeah.
And not that
too.
I'd ever want to use it, and I never have. But you may have that, you just never know that,
you never know.
Something could just turn on you and
it's like an insurance policy, right? You never know where you're going to need it, and it's better to have it. I mean, I carry a horn as well, right? So it's just safety first, right?
Yeah, 100%, and I mean, there's other critters out there too, like the cougars and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a peace of mind, and
it is,
and there's always that chance. So just keep that in mind too, guys. I know middle of winter, this isn't the ideal thing, but I kind of keep it inside my jacket where I can reach it just to keep it from freezing. Now, I'm not sure what the actual rating is as far as,
temperature?
the temperature. Freezing and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of been my own thing, right?
Sure.
I'll still carry it 100% because I don't know. It's almost like every time I go out in the winter, certain spots where I have like trail cameras up and stuff.
Yep.
It always seems that when I come back out, loop around and head back to the truck, there's always cougar tracks.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it picks up on my scent
or following you the whole time. You never
know. It's eerie knowing that,
Yeah.
And I would say about 6 or 7 out of 10 times that happens. And I'm just like, what the, and that's the thing. They're so stealthy. It's not like you can hear them crashing through the woods and stuff. So,
no, that's
but long story short, keeping that bear spray with you is
safety
is a
first.
good idea.
Well, and like you said, I mean, in the summer, you're able to, if you have a carabiner, clip it on your pant belt loop or whatever, or your jacket right in front of you, or put in your pocket. But when you're wearing in the winter, you got bigger jackets and you can't really clip it on, and it's going to be hidden under. So as long as you can get at it really quickly, if it's right there, then as long as it's handy.
And I'm thinking, -5, -10 Celsius, whatever, that kind of thing. I'm sure it's fine on the outside, I'm talking,
maybe,
the odd time we're out there where it's -25, 30, I've been out there shooting and, I'm just not sure.
No. And you don't want to take
that chance that the canister, is frozen and, no propellants coming out, right? That sort of thing. So,
no, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, but it was a good trip.
It was.
What about some tips? What about some tips for shooting elk or taking photographs of elk?
Shooting elk.
Yeah. You know how many times I've had to explain that to somebody?
The shooting?
I explained, like I told an older lady at one time that I was shooting hummingbirds and she almost started crying immediately.
Are you serious?
And I'm like, No. Like photographs. It's photo lingo
Yes,
shooting.
that's right.
You know,
Yeah.
so you have to kind of watch your
Especially
terminology, right?
especially if you're shooting portraits. You don't want to say you're shooting people.
Yeah, well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a couple of cool T-shirts out there with all that too, right?
There is. Yeah, there is for
Yeah.
sure.
So, any tips you want to share with photographing elk or any of the large mammals?
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, you want to be zoomed in as, keep it still as possible. I mean, the new cameras are great. They've got the in-body stabilization, so that's a lot handy when you're zoomed in so far. But if you can get on a tripod or if you can get stable, like, people use those, what are those, the bean bags over the window ledge, in your vehicle, that kind of stuff. So as still as possible to get as sharp as possible, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, and we can apply that to any and all.
To anything. Yep. It doesn't have to be big mammals. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Lower light, we were shooting right at the beginning. So, I know our ISOs are up there, 3,200, 4,000, 5,000.
Yep.
It doesn't look like it in the photos, but it was a little on the high side. So, there was a bit of post-processing that we had to do, with removing some noise and that sort of thing. So, but just remember, guys, like you always got to pay attention to your settings, especially if you're shooting an aperture priority. The last thing you want to hear is like click, click.
Yes,
because
exactly.
your ISO isn't high enough, right? You're at f4, but your ISO is at like 1600, and it's still that dark that you're shooting way below the necessary shutter speed.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
So,
yeah. Well, you know what I've been doing since we talked about it a year ago. I've been trying to do auto ISO a little bit more, especially in the mornings when the light's changing.
Yeah, 100%.
I found that's helped. You keep your shutter speed where you need it to be and your aperture where you need it to be, and the ISO is changing based on. But there's still times you got to keep an eye on the light there for sure. And
ISO is changing based on light.
It is changing based on light.
Yeah,
that's right.
So and that's the way I shoot. But I was just I remember when I used to shoot aperture priority, and that was the odd time I'd hear like click. I'm like,
oh, for sure.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? So
I used to shoot aperture priority all the time until we started talking about auto ISO, and that's pretty much what I do now. So yeah.
Yeah. And it happens to me all the time still. Like I forget buck fever,
Oh, for sure.
like the hunters, like they see something that they're after, and it's called buck fever, and they start to shake and they miss and this excited. And everything. It's over the excitement, right? And I mean, this might not be the best analogy for a lot of people out there because there's not a lot of people that hunt, right? Or maybe there are a lot of hunters watching this. I'm not sure, but it's the same thing. Like I still get excited when I see any animal actually, and there's so many times like that I forget to change something, right? So that's why the manual auto ISO. I know with certain lenses, I need to stay at like hand holding 1/500th of a second at f4. That's it. If I drop below that, it's going to be iffy. So if the ISO shoots up to 5,000, then that's fine because I know I can still get a sharp enough image or a sharp image, right?
Yeah. And the in-body stabilization on these new cameras help a bit, but still, I don't trust sometimes, the 500, keeping the shutter speed of 1/500th is kind of where I start as well. So, yeah.
Well, animal movement too plays a factor in this. Like, I mean, there's a lot of factors involved, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
But with the Lumix G9 in-body and, the built-in IS and the lenses too. I mean, I could certainly drop it down, but it's almost like that old school thinking too. Like it's just still kind of revert back to solid techniques that I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. Yeah.
Because they're still solid techniques, right?
Well, and that's it. And that's exactly it, So I'll admit that a lot of times I don't use the tripod when I'm supposed to. So firing off big bursts, when I don't really need to, if I was shooting off a gimbal and that sort of thing. But I guess, that's the biggest reason why with, the manual, the auto ISO.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and you were talking about the tripod, I've been finding the same with the video. I gotta pull that tripod. You and I were talking about that, right? Yeah. Whether you use a monopod or a tripod, you need to pull it out because sometimes you're holding these, these shots trying not to move your camera and you're zoomed so far in and there's still a little bit of shake. And some of that you can correct in post, but it's still noticeable.
Yeah. And that's the thing, people still think, like the old analogy was, or I mean, maybe a lot of people still think of this or think this way, is I'll just fix it in Photoshop. I'll just, not worry about exposure, highlight shadows, using exposure comp and everything else. And maybe a lot of people still think that way of video, but with video, there's only so much you can do, just like photos.
There is. Yep.
So.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I do use the warp stabilizer effect in Premiere for the video, right? And basically that kind of crops things in and you lose some quality, right? So we can talk about that and over the coming months as well, if we get into video a little bit more as well. But yeah, there's only so much you can do with the video for sure.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I was first doing some little YouTube clips and stuff, there was something in YouTube that would actually allow me to kind of stabilize things, right?
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it was called and stuff. So I knew that that technology was there.
Yeah.
But like I said, you're the video guy. I'm just not really up to speed on all this kind of stuff, right? So.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, hey, you're getting there though. You're getting there though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just like you're getting there with your photos.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Got to catch up to the master.
Nice job, eh? Nice job, eh? Yeah. Well, maybe you should let everybody know what you do. As far as your main gig. I mean, you have a media company, right?
Yeah, I have a media company, do a lot of real estate video and different types of things like that. Still do sports photography, that kind of thing. But video, got my advanced drone license now. So hoping to use that a lot more too. So And
the company name?
Gibbs Media.
Gibbs Media.
So I'm not wearing my Gibbs Media hat today. Darn.
Is it on Instagram, like at Gibbs Media?
Yeah, gibbsmedia.ca. And we have a website, www.gibbsmedia.ca.
Okay.
So for sure.
So anything and everything related to video, is that safe to say? Like as far as
we do video editing, video shooting. I do photography. We have voiceover on that. So I just like we our whole goal on the video side is to help small businesses. Whether it's real estate, whether it's just somebody wanting a video shot.
You've done. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but you've done music videos.
I've done music videos
from singers.
Yeah.
You've done ad campaigns, right? For like Power and Motion and that sort of thing,
yes,
right?
For sure. Yeah, Power Motion. We do a lot for that. The heated gear and the bikes and some charity work. We actually just did a Jump for a Cure charity skydive event. So I've been involved in that 2 years in a row now. So
you're actually dropping from a plane backwards, taking video of the guys as they're coming out.
No. I keep my feet firmly planted on the ground.
No, but that's been a couple of years. How long have you been doing that now?
Since 2000, early 2019 is when I started doing that full time, and we're really small. It's just myself on the creative side and my wife running the business, and we keep it that small. And it's kind of how we want to do it at the moment, anyway. So
for sure, because your background is in broadcasting and video and stuff, right?
It is, for sure, But so we still, even though we concentrate on the wildlife and nature, that's our passions. We still have some other stuff.
100%.
And you do the same, right? So you're doing some stuff there too. So
100%. Yeah. So no, that's cool. I just kind of wanted to let everybody know, that, your video goes beyond, nature, right?
It is. Yeah. Well, and really the nature side of the video has been very minimal up to this point. And now I'm just trying to get into that even more and trying to up the professional level of that as well. And which makes me keep looking at different.
Using techniques that we preach about all the time, but seldom use. No, just kidding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, so we're getting there, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of this podcast too, teaching and, sharing our successes and our failures. And,
for sure. Yeah.
Oh crap, look at this. Why did I do this or that? Or, but I know we haven't done this yet, but maybe at the end of the year, we'll have that blooper reel we're talking about.
And Unfortunately, there's a few more bloopers than people probably realize.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, I'm sure we could.
Yeah.
It would probably be our longest video, if we added everything in there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But
in that case, we are lucky to get podcasts out at sometimes because we're laughing through some of them
kidding,
a little bit.
Right?
But,
holy crap, we've been recording for what, 2 hours, and we've got 12 minutes content. Whoa, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
But
so
as far as tips for photographing elk, I would say it's almost the same as any large mammal. Use the basics, guys. Try and shoot off a tripod if you can. Stay safe distance. Well, the other thing too is staying at a safe distance. Here's a perfect example.
Okay.
We were at a safe distance, and the elk was still behaving naturally.
Yes, that's right. We weren't disturbing him in any way whatsoever.
That's right. So, without impeding in the space, like if we were too close, then he would be concentrating on us, and what are we going to get? Nothing.
That's right.
He would have stopped rubbing the trees. He would have ran away. He would have done all kinds of things. So, staying at that respectful distance allows him to do what he's there to do.
Sure.
And so we were able to get some pretty cool behavior, right?
Yes.
That, they're going to see at the end of this video, right? So,
for sure. Yeah.
In between,
or however we
while
do
we're
it.
talking, or whatever Chris's creative, idea of what this video should be.
Once we start looping it together, we'll have.
Yeah,
it'll be in there
right.
somewhere. So
we might actually be saying this
after the fact.
you've already seen the video. Yeah, exactly.
So,
right.
But the key is also, I guess don't always look for the headshot because as the rut comes on, you may have more elk in the shot. So you may have to, be a little wider and have more environmental shot, right? It's not
well, that's it. Once they start herding the cows and that kind of thing, right? I know from previous years workshops, some of these bulls have 30, 40, 50 cows, right?
Sure.
So, you could easily use like a 70 to 200 or 24 to 70, and get a nice, decent,
still from a
environmental
distance.
Image. Yeah, you betcha. Right. So,
well, I remember I did one of your workshops a couple of years ago and in Waterton, and the elk were running over the ridge with the mountains in the background. And, you can get some pretty cool shots, right? So,
well, and that's it, right? So I guess you always got to kind of be prepared with, a couple lenses to switch out to, right? Or ideally having 2 camera bodies.
Yeah.
With 2 different lenses on there, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you kind of
something
have
like
to
what you're doing right now. You've got your Fuji set up for video and your Canon set up for stills.
I have, yes, yeah.
I mean, there's still the dilemma of which one do I grab, but at least you're set up for both, right? So
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, and that's one thing as we go forward in the fall, we can talk about more too. I mean, it's definitely the Fuji scenario for video. I still love. On the photography side, man, I just keep grabbing that Canon, and
that's right.
It's the Fuji's not terrible, but the Canon full frame is I still love the quality that it gives me.
Still
right,
surpasses the Fuji a little bit, right?
Probably we'll be working through that a little bit in the fall for sure, trying a few different things. So.
I know.
Keep up
I know you've mentioned possible gear purchases coming up, so we'll see how that goes. We won't say what it is.
No, not yet. So
whether you're making a big change.
Yeah.
What's that?
We'll see if I do it or not. So,
well, yeah. And I mean, this could be a huge change, a brand change, maybe, being silly. It could be, just an upgrade to existing systems. But I mean, we've been talking about different things, right? And we'll see how things, pan out, I guess. Right.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes for sure. Yeah. So
technology is amazing now. It's getting incredibly, well, I can't even keep up. People will ask me, and I'm like, I'll let you know tomorrow. And then I spend a half hour on a computer, what was this? What was that? Oh, okay. It's crazy, man.
Well, there's so many functionalities that, 10 years ago that are being added now that 10 years ago were unheard of. Right. Mm-hmm. So some of these functions that are being added. So it's interesting. I mean, you want to be able to stay up on technology, but you got to be careful because things get a little expensive. Right. So especially a big change.
Even some of these camera bodies we're looking at that are coming out, we did the conversion on one and we won't say the brand or whatever. No. But it was like $7,600.
I know.
Just for the body.
Yep.
you know?
And sometimes the
And so it's
lenses,
just
you may
like,
have to, unless you get converters or, adapters, you may have to get new lenses. And so,
well, Prime, the 600 Prime was like $17,000,
I know.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, kind of have to figure out, at the end of the day, I think you have to work out what your goal is, what your target is. Are you at that level? Do you want to be at that level right now? Are you shooting for National Geographic? Okay. Are you just shooting for social media? Do you really need that $17,000 lens? I don't know. Right. So
100%. And what people have to realize too is, we got some decent gear, some good gear, some high end gear. Right. But, we're also making a living from it too.
Yeah, that's right.
So, unless I was a very serious amateur trying to get published and breaking into the field, I wouldn't have half the gear I have right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like, actually, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and she had said something about, getting together with a group or something, but her gear is so old, and she was kind of worried about, not being up to date and stuff. And I'm like, it's not the gear, it's the photographer.
That's right. Yeah.
Because some of my first wolf shots I got were taken with the first digital Canon Rebel, the silver body one, the 2 megapixel photo, and a Sigma 400 5.6.
Oh, okay.
And look at it right now.
Sure.
It's great. Like, I can, do a 20 by 30 with it, but that was the technology back then. That's when I switched over from film to digital, right?
Right. Yeah.
But, talk about older gear, like my old Canon 5D, the first one, version 1, right?
Right.
The Mark 1. I'm still printing 20 by 30 canvases from those images.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Those files.
Yeah.
And tack sharp, tight grain, tack sharp, full frame. So, I guess this would be a good time to point this out. We're talking about gear upgrade and everything else, but listen, guys, it's really not the gear. Like, you can go buy a kit for under $1,000 off the shelf with kit lenses and everything, and still produce wicked images.
Oh, sure.
Great video, because the majority of people are just taking photos for social media.
That's right.
Maybe the odd 8 by 10 or something, maybe a 16 by 20 or 24 or whatever. And even those crop sensor cameras off the counter kit lenses still produce crazy good photos.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So don't get too caught up on the gear, guys. Like, we have certain gear for certain reasons. You know what I mean? Weather sealing, titanium bodies,
right.
Faster focus. It's got higher frame rate, all these kind of things that we kind of need for the field we're in, like, especially with you shooting sports photography, right? You know, so, 14 frames per second is really needed with that. Mm-hmm. But realistically, if you're shooting nature, you're using single shot for landscapes, macro. And if you're going to do some wildlife, even 2, 3, 4 frames per second on, the entry level cameras is plenty.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You learn how to time the photos, Yeah.
And if your lens isn't fast enough, bring the tripod, right? So, for landscape shots.
Well, okay. And here's another thing, if you're not, if you don't have a prime, like, let's say a 200 2.8, like on my G9 or a 500 f4 Canon or whatever, to get those nice soft backgrounds, the nice bokeh, then you just got to learn different ways to get around that. So, to get those soft backgrounds, it's subject to background distance, right?
Background separation, basically.
That's right. So, the distance between the subject and the background. So, the further the subject is from the background, the softer the background's going to be. So, where, let's say, and these are just arbitrary numbers, guys. Yeah. So, let's say that elk is 30 feet from the tree line, and you're shooting with a 200 2.8 or a 500 f4, whatever. Yeah, that tree line is going to be pretty soft. Okay. Mm-hmm. With a zoom lens off the counter, or like in the kits where maybe a 4.5 to 6.3, at the far end, like, let's say it's a 100 to 300 or a 100 to 400, it's going to be at the 400, it'll be 5.6, 6.3, whatever lens you're using. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, the background isn't going to be all that sharp, but if you can get in a position where all of a sudden now that elk and the background is 60, 70, 80, 100 feet, or, a lot of times what I've done, like on a cut line, is gotten into position where there is no background.
Oh,
like
just move
the
yourself
background
a bit.
distance is way down the cut line. Well, you could be shooting at f/16. It's really not going to matter.
No,
you know what I mean?
for sure. Yeah.
So, getting into it, as far as the gear goes, don't worry too much about that. There's ways around it, so, what she had said earlier, it was just like, I could understand. I could totally understand it, but it doesn't matter. Like,
no,
gear really doesn't matter.
No,
like you can get amazing photos with anything right now off the shelf,
and you don't have to go from A to Z. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to jump in full speed, full steam ahead and spend $20,000 on gear at the beginning. You can work your way up and move up on different things. Right. So I started, with just a point and shoot, then got a Rebel, and then 5D Mark III, and, you move on and just, you grow with things. And as you change your focus of what you're looking for, your lenses may change too. And if you're more landscape than wildlife, it's a different scenario, right? So,
and you move in that direction. Yeah.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day.
Here's another thing too. If you think about this, like, I think, I wouldn't necessarily myself jump on. I wouldn't say this is 100%, but a lot of times I don't jump on the first version. Okay.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of times if I, so now I did with the original 5D, right? And then I got the 5D Mark II, right? So it was an improvement, but then I went from the 5D to the 1DX, but you know what I mean?
Right.
That was a huge jump, but just think about it, whenever there's a new version that comes out, like, so you're shooting the Mark IIIs, right?
Yeah. I got the 5D Mark III.
Yeah. 5 Mark III. Yep. So think about this, guys, when the Mark IV came out, the Mark III, which is an absolutely stellar camera, full frame. I think I remember John Mary, when they first came out, he picked up 2 of those camera bodies,
right.
And look at the quality of his imagery, right? So, think about this, okay, Mark IV's coming out. Let the Mark IV come, pick up a couple of used Mark IIIs, or pick up a used Mark III, because wow, we're getting off on a tangent here for this elk video.
We're going all over the place, but that's okay.
You know what? So. Here's the thing though, too, guys. People I know were really, when you're looking for a camera body, people are always looking at the shutter count.
Right.
Okay. So do a little research first. Okay. Because I know when I was a CPS member for Canon, and I was looking at, replacement shutters, for higher, obviously higher rated cameras, or higher rated cameras with higher shutter counts. It was really not expensive at all compared to the camera body. Like,
oh, is that right?
Don't quote me on this, but I think just to replace the shutter, like the box and, everything, pull it out, put in a new one.
Yep.
It's only like $180.
Is that right? See, yeah. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Pick up a Mark III or a Mark IV with 150, 200,000 shutters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. And then if the shutter fails on you, or, you want to buy it and replace, it may have gone up to 250 or 300, whatever. But think about it. You pick up a used camera body, invest the $200 or $300, get a brand new shutter. Right. What else is really going to fail? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Not too much really goes wrong. Unless you crack the LCD or whatever. I mean, there are things that can go wrong, but most people are really concerned about the shutter, right? The shutter count. So just think about that, guys, too. Like if you want to get into, something a little more higher end than what you have, don't worry about stuff like that.
Yeah. So. And just maybe just to clarify, Joe, maybe some people don't realize, but the shutter does wear out over time. I mean, it's a long time, right? And maybe people don't realize that when they buy a camera. But if you have it over, I mean, I think I've had mine for my 5D Mark III for like 8 years or something like that. And I'm over 100,000 shutter count or whatever. And I think that camera can last, I don't know, 200,000 or something like that, or 250. Something like that.
You're not even halfway there yet.
Right. And I shoot a ton with that thing. So, but there's, you just gotta keep an eye on that, especially when you're buying used, just keep an eye on that. Right.
Well, yeah. And the other thing too is, most people won't even ever get close.
Oh yeah, probably not. Yeah.
to the end of the shutter life.
Sure.
Not even close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe the professional sports
especially-
photographers or something that are just firing
Yeah.
off constantly, maybe, but still.
Yeah. You know, like some of these cameras, I mean, yeah, there was some higher shutter counts and stuff, but I mean, in the end, you know, I would think the majority of people, you know, you'd be lucky if you break 100,000 for the life of the camera body.
Sure.
For, you know, most recreational shooters, right?
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. And so, and again, like you said, depending on, you know, if you're shooting sports and you're at 14.6, well, the 1DX is 16 frames in JPEGs, 14 frames per second raw.
Sure.
The Lumix G9 is like 30 frames per second. Yeah, you can get that thing. Well, actually, I can't even. Yeah, I can't even really compare, but yeah, you could get there fast depending on what you're shooting for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're shooting all landscape, it's going to take you a lot longer than a sports photographer, for example, or
I mean, what do you do?
Whatever.
You know. You know, take 10, maybe 15 images of sunrise, if that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Really only
even if you're doing
one,
long exposures, you know? Right?
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I know we kind of got off on a little tangent here.
That's okay. It's been fun.
This was supposed to be an elk shooting video, but hey, you know what? It's what it is, right? And I mean, we're like this in the field too, right? You know, we talk about one thing and then like, yeah, exactly. You know, and the next thing we know, we're talking about, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. That's the beauty part of photography. I mean, it's photography related, but we're off. There's so many things to talk about, right? You know, so.
Oh, for sure there is. Yeah. And, you know, if anybody has any questions, like what we're talking about here or, you know, video or, you know, depth of field on lenses, just let us know. Like we, you know,
for sure,
answer
100%.
anything. So.
100%. So, you know, the next month or so, well, 2.5 months, going to be busy for us, right? We're going to be out there shooting, trying to get the rut for, you know, the elk, moose, whitetails, that kind of thing. So, and there's still a lot of bear activity right now. You know, I was talking to a buddy and, you know, eating bears are still, you know, they're roadside eating berries and that kind of stuff. They're, you know, obviously trying to fatten up for the winter hibernation. But so, next 2 or 3 months are going to be fun for sure. Yeah,
they for sure will. Absolutely. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So, why don't we wrap things up there, Chris?
Yep. Sounds good.
I think, I'm not sure. Maybe people are tired of us talking. So, well,
maybe they've tuned out already. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Hey, after 6 minutes, they're like, we're done.
I thought this was about elk. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, guys, we don't know where Chris is going to put in these, you know, the clips. And remember, too, a lot of it's shot on professional gear, like the, you know, Fuji X-T4, like raw footage that's been converted. And a lot of it's going to be maybe our iPhone, you know, 4K iPhone 11 Pro and 12 kind of video footage, too. So, you know, it's just a lot of times we didn't have the opportunity to use the X-T4, right? Right. So it's like, and stuff was happening right away. It's kind of funny because I know we're supposed to end this, but it's kind of funny because I used an iPhone 11 Pro and I had it on video mode. And I got one of those rings on the back. So I had it hooked on my finger, right? And that was ready to go, you know, while we were walking and, you know, watching the elk and stuff. Cause I'm like, I can't take video with the existing system I had on me. Right. But I had it ready just for those Instagram stories and stuff, right? Yeah. And the reels, you know, so, and I think people love those, you know?
Oh, for sure. And don't be surprised if some of the videos are vertical in this podcast, because, you know, it's sometimes we're recording directly for the stories 100%. For social media. So, and if we capture 100%. Something cool, you're going to see it. So,
yeah, 100%. So, like we said before, this channel is just going to be fun and entertaining, you know. Yeah. And hopefully you guys can walk away with you know, a few tidbits of cool information. And like Chris said, if you have any questions, concerns, you know, fire off an email, leave a comment, and please like, subscribe. You know, we'd really appreciate it. I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good. Thanks for watching.
It's a gorgeous day in the Rockies with Joe Desjardins, Chris Gibbs, the nature photo guys. We have an elk right in here that's rubbing like crazy. Sounds. We got a bull just on the other side of these trees. Here's a set of rubs. Watch that big guy rub here too. Even though all his velvet has gone off his antlers, he's still rubbing while he's yelling at that other bull out there.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. Or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.